There is a major misconception that the thing you do now needs to be the end all be all, especially in the game of entrepreneurship. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Parker Eimerl, and this is the Conversation Station. And that's been something that's been on my mind lately because I think when we're in school, we know school isn't the end all be all. But once we get out into this game of professionalism and this game of entrepreneurship, it's really easy to have the limiting mindset that what we do now has to be what we do later. And that's not true, right? In fact, what you do now probably won't be what you do later. Even if you know what you want to, I think the issue though is when we know and we believe that something is what we want to do later, or we have something that we truly believe to be our end all be all. It's really easy to get lost in that and to be discouraged when it doesn't go exactly according to plan, when we have to do something slightly different as a business. But I think it's important that the thing that we need to keep in mind in all of this is every business, every attempt, every failure is a stepping stone. And it's a stepping stone up the hill or down the hill. And it's important to keep that in mind as we go into this game of entrepreneurship. Because if you know where you want to go, it's not a smooth path. There's winds, there's hills. And so when something comes along and it doesn't align perfectly with what you believe you want to do and where you're going to go, when something comes along your path and it's not the destination, it's not, this is exactly it, but it's pretty close, do it, right? In many ways, you should just do it because it'll give you more perspective as to the thing your end-all be-all is. And in that adjustment, it gives you something to scale from, right? You have to do one podcast episode before you can do 30. You have to go to the gym once before you can go to the gym twice. And as I work on some stuff for my own business and on my side of things, right? It's been interesting because I have a vision of what I want to do. But the fact is that vision, there are steps to get there. And right now I want to just go do that vision, but sometimes when the vision is this big, when the vision is as big as a football field, you kind of have to start with the first 10 yards, right? So you have to take the chunk. Take that manageable chunk where you can set your objectives and you can reach your objectives. But you're not doing it all at once. It's important to push yourself. But also be reasonable. Be honest, right? You can't expect to go from when you don't have anything else to invest, you can't expect to go from, $0 to, being in $100,000 a month business in 2 days. That's a very crazy example, but you can't expect these things overnight. And so my thing would be is if there's something you want to do and something comes along that's on that path, but it's the same thing scaled down, take it, man. And it all brings me back to the idea of stepping stones, right? Every action is a stepping stone towards success or failure. Every stepping stone determines your next step. Every misstep shows you your ability to get back up. And we need to understand. We have to understand that these things are steps, right? And sometimes it's not going to feel great that you're not doing exactly what you want to in business. But the fact is, in business, we never get to do exactly what we want to do. All we get to do is build. And the second biggest tool that we have in business is capital. Humans, systems, capital, in that order. So I guess the third. But sometimes you need, it's almost a community, an exchange between all three of those things. But sometimes in order to scale those systems, you can't start off with 17 systems and offer 17 different things. You often have to start with one. And then you use the C, the capital, that comes in from that first S. And then you can scale. Then you can go to the next one and the next one. But also remember, this is a quote from the episode coming out tomorrow with Michael Kragholm. And what he said to me was, it's easier to go from 1 to 10 than from 1 to 2. So it's easier to 10x as opposed to 2x. And he put it much better, so go listen to that episode. But what he said, but his point was that the lifestyle change you have to make in order to go from 1 to 10 is going to make it easier to go from 1 to 10 than from 1 to 2. Because 1 to 2 is such a minor change in your actions that it's harder to stick with that than the big change. Right? I could have said I'm going to do 5 episodes this month as opposed to my usual 4 when I had been doing it weekly. But I decided, no, I'm going to do 30. And it's easier to do 30 than it would have been to do 4, 5, 6, 7 because of the sheer consistency. And also remember, even though it's easier to jump from 1 to 10, don't try to go from 1 to 100 without significant amounts of thought, because going from 0 to 100 is much harder than you believe. But that's not the problem. The problem is that you need that first 10%. You need those lessons often in order to be able to get to that 100. But the great thing is you get to that 10, and that 10 becomes your 1. And it's a constant 10x every single time. And it's this build over a course of time that gives you the perspective to live the best life possible. That gives you the lessons to go forward. That's why I say start a podcast, because you get those lessons from others, right? And this goes for every facet of life, the 1 to 10x, the 10x rule. It works for everything. But the fact is, how big your 10x is, it's determined by what your 1x is. And so 10x yourself until your 1x is most people's 100. And keep doing that and keep pushing and keep working hard. Because it is our job as leaders to keep pushing, to push the envelope in all facets of our lives, to take on utter responsibility in all aspects of our lives, and to become the best frickin' versions of ourselves. Now, I'm going to keep this episode a little short because I don't have much time to get it out to you guys. That's the truth. That's why I'm going to keep this episode short, but expect a great episode tomorrow, and I'm going to put a poll on Instagram to find out what the final episode of the month will be, because we do have one on the 29th, but what will that 30th episode be? It is up to you. Thank you guys at home for watching. I'm Parker Eimerl. I've been talking to you, and this has been The Conversation Station.